There was a couple married for 50 years, and they were very open with each other about everything. They shared everything. There's one thing they didn't share. One thing was a secret. The wife had this box, and the husband was not allowed to know what was in the box. He's not allowed to know. It was a private thing. Nobody can know what's in the box. Okay? But at the 50th anniversary, the husband's curiosity was piqued, and he asked his wife, "Can you please tell me what's in the box? I'll show you." She said, "Before we got married, I asked my mother for advice. Mother said, whenever you feel that you're getting angry and you're losing it, what you should do is you should stop everything and you should knit a sweater." So he looks in the box. In the box there's 2 sweaters and an envelope. So he looks at it, I'm a great husband. All 50 years and she only made 2 sweaters. That's a pretty good husband. And what's the envelope? Oh, well, I basically sold the sweaters that I made, and there's a check in the envelope for $25,000. In general, the Torah frowns upon being too hasty, rushing into things, being in a frenzied pace. Although the Alter Rebbe, one of the things the Alter Rebbe said that Chassidim accepted as mitzvahs, even though they're not officially mitzvahs, there are 3 things Chassidim consider to be as tantamount to a biblical obligation, even though they're not mitzvahs. One of them is to be joyous, other is to be smart, and the 3rd thing that Chassidim accept as a mitzvah, even though it's not a mitzvah, is to have alacrity with patience. Alacrity, b'zrizut, energy, alacrity, and yet, hey, Menachem Mendel, Shalom Aleichem. But even though, Shalom Aleichem, alacrity, but yet to have patience, do things in a measured, orderly way. So, which is really unusual to find the Torah highlighting and complimenting the frenzied pace that we left Egypt. It's unusual. Because the Torah says about Reuven, for example, that Reuven, he was destined to become the tribe that had the Kohanim, that had the priests. He was the Becher, he was the firstborn. He was destined to be the one where royalty, where the monarchy, the Jewish people would emanate from. And yet, the Torah says that because he made a frenzied decision, after Rachel passed away, he moved the bed of his father Yaakov into the tent of Leah. So because of that, the Torah says that he lost all of his blessings, and instead they were given to his brothers. So Yaakov famously tells Reuven, "Pachas kamayim al teisar," because you were so frenzied, because you were so rushed, that's why you lost the blessings. So the Torah doesn't extol being too hasty about things. And yet, here, the Torah talks about, there's so many different things we could concentrate on, we could think about our departure from Mitzrayim. So many things that happen. And what does the Torah focus on? The Torah highlights we left in a frenzied pace. In fact, the Rambam, in the beginning of his Agadah, Maimonides' Agadah, it starts with the words, Bibihilu, and with a frenzied pace we left Egypt. Why is that the number one thing? Why is that the thing that we're focusing on? And the truth is that we didn't even run out of Mitzrayim. It didn't happen that way. Although the Torah says that Bibihilu, that the Chipazon with frenzied pace left Mitzrayim, the Torah said that Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, told the Jewish people that when they eat the Korban Pesach, when they eat the Paschal Lamb, the night before leaving Mitzrayim, they're supposed to eat the Paschal Lamb with their stick in their hand, their walking stick, and supposed to eat with their belt, and ready to go. And it seems like that they were, just like grabbing a sandwich before going to the airport. That's what it seems like. But on the other hand, the Torah says that we didn't leave right after eating the Paschal Lamb.
We didn't leave at night because
we didn't even leave at night.
Just like you're not meant to leave. It's like a robber.
Right, exactly. The Torah says we're not supposed to leave like a robber. We robbers running away at night. Instead, we left the next day. So we got permission from Paro, from the Pharaoh, to leave at night, but we didn't leave till the next day. So the whole frenziness that the Torah says that we had leaving Egypt was unnecessary. We didn't leave at night; we left the next day. So they're rushing. They're ready to go out of Egypt, and they don't even leave then. They leave the next day in the morning. So the question is, why is this considered such an important feature of the Exodus? That's the one thing that the Torah highlights, and we have to remember. And also, interesting thing is, of all the laws the Torah says that we have to do every year on Pesach to commemorate what happened in Mitzrayim, we have to eat matzah because the dough didn't rise, and yet there's no commemoration for the frenziness that we left Egypt. We don't actually hold the walking stick every year. We don't actually. There's some people have a custom actually by the night of the Seder they put the matzahs on their back. And it's mentioned in the code of Jewish law that some people have the custom that they put the matzahs on their back and they walk around. I think it's a really cool custom, but that's not the widespread minhag. That's not the halacha. You don't have to have a walking stick. You don't have to put your belt on, and yet the Torah highlights this. And this doesn't seem to be a virtue. In fact, there's a pasuk in Mishle, in Proverbs, in chapter 19, verse 2. The Torah says, "Gam b'lei das nefesh leitayv." A person who doesn't have intelligence makes mistakes because doesn't know any better. But even someone who has a lot of knowledge, if he's if he's quick to his feet, he could make mistakes as easily as someone who doesn't know any better. Although he knows a lot, but it's if he rushes to do something without thinking it through, he can make mistakes as easily as someone who doesn't know any better. I have a friend who was running a yeshiva, and a lot of the students in the yeshiva was to get on his nerves. And he asked the Rebbe what to do about this, because it bothered him. He used to get on his nerves, and I think he thought that the Rebbe would tell him, yeah, you really have it hard, and you should. The Rebbe said to him, wait 60 seconds before you respond. Count to 60. And the second thing the Rebbe told him was, learn more Hasidic discourses about trust in God, about divine providence, and this will soften up your character. Anyways, but here the Torah says, great virtue, we left with haste. But we didn't leave with haste, we left the next day. And in fact, the Torah emphasizes how we left in middle of the day. Why does the Torah say we left during the day? It says in the Rashi, the Egyptians told the Jewish people, you think you're going to leave Egypt? There's no way you're going to leave. We're going to come at you with our weapons and we'll stop you. So Hashem responds to the Egyptians and says, try whatever you can. I'm not going to take them out in a secret. In the middle of the day, when you guys are awake, they're still going out of Mitzrayim. So Torah emphasizes how they left, and freely when they wanted to leave. And the same Torah right away says that it was b'chipazon. It was with a frenzied haste. So the question is even greater. Whenever the Rebbe speaks about the coming of Mashiach, the Rebbe always emphasizes that's going to be terrifying. Yeshua Hashem terrifying. The salvation of God comes in the blink of an eye. And that emphasizes it'll come even faster than the blink of an eye. And even the word rega in Hebrew means a moment. It'll become faster than a moment. And yet the Torah says that although Mashiach's coming will happen in a second, like the Alter Rebbe once said, that the shoemaker will be measuring a person's feet, try to see, you're 9.5, and at that moment, suddenly, all of a sudden, will be in Yerushalayim. All of a sudden, Mashiach will come and we'll be like, such an instantaneous change. So although Mashiach's coming is something which is very fast, interestingly, the Torah says about the coming of Mashiach, will not be in a hurried pace. Although it's going to happen fast, the Torah doesn't call it hurried. The Torah doesn't describe Mashiach's coming as frenzy. So we have over here a couple of things we need to understand. How come when we left Mitzrayim, it's called a frenzied pace and didn't actually leave? Number two, every year when we commemorate the Exodus from Egypt, we don't commemorate the frenzied thing. And number three, when Mashiach comes, it also says, although Mashiach's coming is something that happens instantaneously, the Torah says it's we won't be rushed. So what's going on over here? Okay, no problem. השאלה שיש לנו הוא, א', למה כתוב בתורה בחיפזון יצאו ממצרים? למה יצא צריך להיות חיפזון? למה יצא חיפזון? ובפרט שלא יצאו בחיפזון, היה להם רשות לצאת בלילה וחיכו עד הבוקר. ולא רק שהיה לנו, ולא רק שלא יהיה צריכים את החיפזון, התורה מדגישה כל שנה, הרמב"ם אומר, כשמתחילים מהגדה צריכים לזכור שיצאנו מחיפזון, אבל לא צריכים את זה. והשאלה השנייה, כתוב כשיבוא המשיח, שמנוסה לסלחו, שלא יהיה בחיפזון. אז למה היה מעלה אז, ועכשיו זה לא נקרא מעלה? למרות שביאת המשיח יהיה ברגע אחד, אבל כתוב, לא יהיה בנוסה לסלחו, לא יהיה ככה בחיפזון. אז מה ההבדל בביאת המשיח במצרים? עוד, שכל שנה, בליל הסדר, אנחנו לא מזכירים, אנחנו לא עושים שום דבר לזכר את המעכל לכם בידכם, התנאיכם חגורים. למה החיפזון היה מעלה אז, אבל עכשיו לא מדגישים את זה?
למה? זיכרון ודאי שעושים לחיפזון.
מה עושים?
כל המצות זה זכר לחיפזון.
כן, אבל למה לא המעכל לכם בידכם? למה לא מעתיכם חגורים?
זה סימן, זה הסימן. מצות, אוקיי.
אז צריך להבין, he's right, he's saying the matzah itself reminds us of the chipazon, reminds us of the hariness, but on the other hand, we don't have the walking sticks, and we don't have the...
But we had to have matzah before we left.
Right, but that's what I'm talking about. When they ate the matzah on the night of the Seder, when they left Mitzrayim, they had to have their walking sticks, they had to have their belts on, they had to be ready to go, to emphasize that they're going with it in a frenzied pace.
אתה אומר שזה החימוץ, זה העניין של ה...
כן, ודאי, טרם מספיק בצקם לקפוח, ככה זה העניין.
Okay,
זה לכם רעיני.
so the Torah tells us to remember this. The Torah tells us to remember that, the score it said, and it's so important to remember that. And, well, there's so many things that happen. Why is that? למה זה הדבר הכי מרכזי? למה החיפזון הכי מרכזי של מכל דברים? The matzah is a centerpiece of the Seder. Why is that the most important thing? We left with haste. דרך כלל התורה אומרת שצריך להיות בנחת, במנוחה. למה פה התורה מדגישה שצריך להיות הכל בחיפזון, to rush? There are some things which some people here need to think about that the Torah says that you should do b'chipazon. You should do in a rushed way. The Torah says to rush a shidduch, to rush getting married. You find by the first shidduch of Yitzchak and Rivka, Avram sent Eliezer to find a wife for Yitzchak. What does the Torah say? That Eliezer wanted to go to travel this place, and it was a 17-day journey, and Hashem caused him to travel these 17 days. And one day he traveled the distance that would take him so much longer. He had kfitz taderach, and not only that, he met the girl right away, and within a day and a half, the shidduch was settled, and he found the right girl. So the Torah actually says, halacha, you're allowed to get engaged to somebody during Chol HaMoed. Why? Because maybe someone else will want to marry the same person. So the Torah says, don't wait to find a shidduch. You should right away look for a shidduch. That's number one. And some people here are thinking, okay, I'm not waiting. I want to find a shidduch. I'm not waiting until I turn 63. I want to find a shidduch now. However, I haven't found anybody because they're all just the wrong people. So the truth is, the way that the Torah describes finding your mate, it seems that people are not approaching it in the right way in general. The Torah says about Yitzchak's love for Rivka, she became his wife and he loved her. That means first you get married, and love comes second. That means the moment that there's already there's a thread, there's an understanding, there's a connection, you don't have to wait for the love. The love comes not because of the love doesn't come before the marriage. It's not like in the romance novels. The love comes first, and instead people live together and they give to each other, and it's a care they give to each other that causes the love to grow. So instead of trying to find the right girl, the right spouse, the right husband, you have to find your right self. If you find in yourself that you're the right person, then you become a better person yourself. Then you're a more appropriate suitor for the right person too, and the love will eventually come. If you become the right husband, then there are a lot of people which are, what's the word they use in English? Compatible to each other. There are a lot of people which are compatible to each other. And so it's not that I didn't find the right person because I don't have anyone compatible. There are many people which could have been compatible. But the reason why I didn't choose them is because I thought the love has to start first. But if I would realize the love comes later, and all I have to do is become the right husband, then this should have could have worked, and that should have could have worked, and that should have could have worked. Of course, everything's by divine providence, and there's only one person.
Didn't come down.
Huh?
The stars didn't come down.
Yeah, some people are waiting for
Mother told me that.
an angel.
She says the whole list. One of my daughters, she says, asks no. She says the whole list is perfect, but the stars didn't come down.
Right.
Sophie.
The Rebbe said that to a girl. A girl came to the Rebbe in a famous story. A young girl came to the Rebbe's room talking about looking for a shidduch, and the Rebbe said to her, the girl, "What about this guy?" And that was the guy she actually went out with. And she said, "Well, this is the problem with that guy." Then the Rebbe said, "What about this guy? What about Ezra?" Said Ezra. What about this guy? And each person she realized was someone that she went out with. The Rebbe was reading a list of people that she went out with. And then the Rebbe told her that romance isn't like how it is in the romance novels. It's not like you meet somebody and right away there's stars. Instead, something grows with caring and sharing. So a lot of times people are waiting for the right person, but the person they're waiting for is themselves. They're waiting for themselves to be the right person for the relationship. But it's a very, very painful thing. And it's easy for me as a married guy to point and give you musar and tell you how hard and how terrible you are and whatever. Shalom. God should bless each of us. Needs to find a shidduch over here very soon. So, what's the point over here of the chipazon? Why is there such a frenzied haste? So, there's two explanations for this I want to share tonight. The first is about Rabbi Reber's favorite subject, which is right, very good. Trust in Hashem. And the second is another idea, a chassidic idea about teshuva.
About
Teshuva, about returning to Hashem. The Seforno says the reason why they had to leave with haste, they had to have the staff in hand, they had to have everything ready to go, was because at the moment that they were in Egypt and they were about to leave Egypt, all of the odds were against them. There was no chance they would be able to leave Egypt because although Egypt had gone through 10 plagues and there's all the reason in the world that they should let them go, what did the Pharaoh say? I'm not letting them go. There's no reason that they should be able to be freed because all Pharaoh wasn't dealing with them in a logical way. He was dealing with them in a crazy way, and there's no chance. And the whole nation was saying, thank you, Yisrael, that's so nice. You're not going to leave Egypt, you're going to be stuck here forever. So they were going through an incredible challenge. They were faced with Hashem hardening Pharaoh's heart, and it looked like it was impossible. I want to share something. There are three things that a person going through a challenge has to know. And all three things the Torah tells us in this week's Torah portion. When you're going through a challenge, you have to know three things. Number one is, anyone here has been through a challenge? You ever heard anybody, who knows anybody who's been through a challenge?
only opportunities.
Only opportunities. Baruch Hashem. Do you know anybody who has been through a challenge, Jesse? Chassidus. Nobody. Okay. Number one is, when you're going through a challenge,
That's a chassidus.
you have to know, number one is, who is creating the challenge. You have to know where the challenge is coming from. Who's making the challenge. Number two, after you know who's making the challenge, you have to know that you must have the ability to overcome the challenge. And number three, you have to know that the purpose of the challenge is to bring you to a better place than you were before the challenge. Those are the three things you have to know. You have to know who's making the challenge, you have to know that you can handle it, and you can overcome the challenge. And the third thing is, the purpose of the challenge is for your own benefit. And all three things, God tells Moshe Rabbeinu in the beginning of this week's Torah portion. He tells Moshe, go to the Pharaoh. What should you do with Pharaoh? Nisayon. Edgar. He tells Moshe to go to Pharaoh. And he tells Moshe, Pari is going to say no. The Pharaoh is going to say no. Why is he going to say no? You might think that Pharaoh has the ability to say yes or no. So God tells Moshe, Ani chbarati et libo. I made him have his heart hard. I'm making him say no. He has no free choice to say yes or no. Nothing to do with him. The reason you're getting a no from him is because God's making it happen. That's the first thing you have to know when you're in a challenge. God's making it happen, number one. Number two, you might think that the challenge is there to hurt you and to pain you and to make you suffer, to bring you down. What does God say? Why am I making Paro's heart hard? Because I want to make miracles in Egypt. It's not to bring you down. It's because I want there to be miracles and wonders. I want to reveal godliness. I want to make them wonders that all the Jewish people and all the world should see these miracles. So it's not to bring you down. It's to cause an incredible revelation of godliness. Instead of thinking that the challenges are there to hurt you, they're not there to hurt you. So this is true for everybody. When you're experiencing a challenge, God is creating the challenge. God's making the challenge. Number two, why is he making the challenge? He's making the challenge to make miracles and wonders, so something great can happen. I don't remember the name of the professor. I'm sure many of you heard the story before. There was a professor who was trying to create an adhesive agent for airplanes, and he was unsuccessful. Instead of creating a very strong adhesive agent, a very strong glue, he created this very, very weak glue. It didn't even work as good as Scotch tape.
Douglas.
What's his name?
Velcro? No.
It didn't work as good as Scotch tape even. And he felt, of course, like, what did he do this for? You know what he ended up using it for, Ezra? You don't know? The Post-it notes. He's the guy who invented Post-it notes. Those Post-it notes. So it was a challenge. Hashem said this and that. This didn't work. But what happened as a result was something much, much better happened. Well, something incredibly good happened. So similarly, when a person is going through a challenge, the most important thing he has to know is he has to have bitachon, trust in Hashem. If Hashem gave you the challenge, that you can overcome it. The Gemara says, when God says, when I ask you to do something, I don't ask you to do something according to my ability, according to God's ability. I ask you according to your ability. And when Hashem gives us, He doesn't give us according to our ability. He gives us according to His ability. So if Hashem is giving me a challenge, I have to realize if I'm experiencing a challenge, I have to know who's made the challenge. It's God made the challenge. And if God made the challenge, it must be that I have the ability to overcome this challenge. If God doesn't come with trickery with His creatures, if I'm experiencing a challenge, I must be able to do it. That's the reason the Torah says that about their chipazon, about their haste. The Torah is saying, although they're in Mitzrayim, and they said the whole Egypt, just a paper tiger. That's what they were expressing by eating the matzah and holding the staff. And they're ready to leave Egypt. They were saying, we don't believe in this Egypt. This Egypt is nothing. At the time they're sitting there with the Paschal lamb and the matzah, they are stuck there forever. But yet they're saying this is all meaningless. It's all babamaisis. We're about to leave Egypt. The whole Pharaoh and the whole army. What was the ratio of Egyptian soldiers to Jews at the time? What the matter says? It was 30-1. So there's no way they could leave naturally, and yet they had the matzah and they had the absolute trust that in a second they're going to leave. That was the point of Bichipazim. The point of their expressed haste was, we're ready to go in a second. We know that in a second we're going to leave. That's one explanation, which is very important in general in life. I just saw a letter of the Rebbe. The Rebbe says to somebody who was experiencing a health issue, the Rebbe said, have the joy that your health has got better before it gets better. That will bring it. The Rebbe says in many, many letters, but just the way the Rebbe said this in this letter was interesting. Lahaktem asimcha ala tavat habriot. Make the joy there first, by thinking that you're going to get better, by being happy that you're going to get better. Before you get better, that brings the health. A famous story about this guy who asked this tzaddik for a blessing for children, and the blessing was fulfilled. He had a child, and the tzaddik told him, "Wasn't the blessing was fulfilled? It was when I gave you the blessing." You went to a store and you bought a baby carriage, and you bought all the stuff for you knew for sure that the blessing would be fulfilled. It was your trust in the blessing that brought the blessing down. That's the way it is in general. As the Tzemach Tzedek famously teaches us, think good and it will be good. Or as they say in Yiddish, chufekan chumisha. Okay, so that's the first explanation. The frenzied pace, the way they were, Chaim Baruch.
Can I say something?
Just I don't want to finish the second point. There's a second reason why the Jewish people were told to express a frenzied haste when they left Egypt. This is according to what the Zohar tells us. The Zohar says an amazing story. It's a parable. That didn't happen. There was a group of thieves, and the group of thieves, they were very successful, and the king hired policemen to try to find them and to catch them unsuccessfully. Eventually, he finally catches them, and he realizes these thieves are really good. What do you do, Yossi? You have really good thieves. What do you do with them? Throw them in a jail. But you have to be a very good jail because these are really good thieves.
You hire them.
So he puts them like an Alcatrazian Guantanamo Bay kind of jail. and they're stuck over there in this jail in the middle of nowhere, and they're stuck. One day, they managed to bribe one of the guards, and the guard to get shovels. The guard gave them shovels, and they dug a tunnel from under the jail into all the way to a river nearby, and they got a boat. They had a whole plan. So they're stuck in jail, and they're about to make their escape, and everyone's ready to go except for Yankel. Yankel says, "I know we're going to get caught. I know we're going to get caught, and when we get caught, charabe. What's going to happen? They're going to put us back in jail for much longer." You know which guy that was? That was a guy from Kashan. They say in Iran, people from Kashan are very frightened about everything. Kashani guy, he was crazy. He was worried. Everyone's going to go, but he said, "I'm afraid." So what happens? They all go in. All the bandits go in, and they manage to escape, and they get the river. They all escape. The king is amazed. Wow, this whole intricate path that they made, and they got out. And the king comes back to the prison. He sees one guy still there. So what are you doing here? Are you crazy? The king said. Are you nuts? You had a chance to escape and you're stuck here? That's what the Zohar says the story. What's the story about? The story is about teshuva. Teshuva is the ability Hashem gives us. Hashem gives us the shovel, that although we got stuck in jail, Hashem gives us the ability to get out of wherever we were, to change. Things don't have to stay the way they always were. We're able to change. But when you change, the word change means that you're somehow fixated in the present. You have to move. A lot of times, when you're about to make that change, you feel like, I want to be comfortable to move, and then I'll move. But that will never happen. Because in order to change, you have to leave your comfort zone. In order to go away from where you are to where you need to be, you have to let go of the comfort of being comfortable. There's a friend of mine had this way he explained it like this. There is what he calls TW, total wimp, on one end of the spectrum. On the end of the spectrum is TF, which is too far. And where are you on the spectrum between TW and TF? So everyone's afraid they're going to go to TF, but they stay into TW. But really, in order to get where you need to get to, you have to make the change before you're comfortable. Before you're comfortable, make a change, you have to decide, I want to change. That's what Shuv is. But Shuv is much more than that. Shuv isn't just that Hashem giving us the ability to... the idea of Teshuvah is the idea of being frenzied, going at a frenzied pace. It wasn't that we were afraid that the Egyptians would come and catch us and bring us back to Egypt. Remember, when we were in Egypt, the Torah says we were in the 49th gate of impurity. Another second, we would have been stuck there forever. So when we left Egypt, there was a part of us that says, I want to stay here. I don't want to leave here. I'm comfortable. And even after the Jewish people left, many times they said, let's go back to Egypt. That feeling, let me go back to Egypt, things are okay the way they are, I don't want to change, that's what prevents us from being what we're supposed to be. That thought, I just want to stay the way I am, I don't ever want to change.
Some of them died in the darkness.
Yeah, a lot of them also stayed in Egypt.
Right, that's right. So the Torah is telling us what the idea of running from Egypt means, that in order to get out of your own Egypt, don't wait till you're comfortable. Don't say, like Baruch Hashem, there's a Jew I know named Yossi Gottlieb, and he made a decision only this week to do some incredible things. Remember that? Right? He didn't say, well, I'm going to wait until I'm comfortable. He just made a decision. I want to hear what you have to say. I want to tell you one more story. There was a Jew, my Rosh Hashiva, Rabbi Chaim couldn't call it Jew.
אמרתם שאחד שעושה שינוי צריך מה?
צריך חיפזון. הוא צריך שלא, he shouldn't be wait till he's comfortable. לא לחכות עד שהוא מרגיש, זה צעד שאני מרגיש טוב לעשות. עניין של חיפזון, כתוב בתניא, שאתה יוצא מה שאתה רגיל, מה שנוח לך, ואתה הולך נגד הזרם.
יוצאת מהקומפורט זון.
out of your comfort zone.
נגד ההרגל.
נגד הזרם. ברגע שאתה עושה את הכל, if you're doing everything according to what you're comfortable with, you're never going to go out of Egypt. The way to go out of Egypt is to be uncomfortable, to push yourself out. There was a Jew, Rabbi Chaim Gutnikov Sheshiva, he said he was once, he was an unbelievable speaker, he was very gifted. Very gifted. Just the way he said things, just like it stayed with you. I mean, until today, I have still things stuck in my head, Baruch Hashem, because of his incredible gift, oratory skills. So he said that he once visited the Rabbi and told the Rabbi he gives all these speeches all the time, and he feels like they don't accomplish anything. He talks about these very, very high values, very, very lofty things, and it doesn't make a difference. The Rabbi said to him, words that come from the heart enter the heart, and just, he said, I advise you to make something practical. Although you may be talking about something which an ideal, which is very lofty, try to always bring out one like practical thing out of whenever you talk. So the next time he spoke on Shabbos, he said, I have a suggestion that I want everyone here to try, even though you might be wondering, why am I talking? He was talking about keeping Shabbos. Why am I talking about keeping Shabbos? Not everyone here is up to keeping Shabbos. I have a suggestion, and he said, your doctor will be happy with the suggestion. What's the suggestion? The suggestion is that you don't smoke on Shabbos. Don't smoke. You smoke every day on Shabbos. 2 weeks later, a guy comes to synagogue. Why are you here, Yankov? You have yard site? You never come to shul. Listen, Rabbi, 2 weeks ago you said not to smoke. So I left the shul, and then next Shabbos I went to my office as usual. I do on Shabbos. On Saturday I go to the office. But remember, you requested as personal favor we shouldn't smoke, so I didn't smoke. I think I'm in the office and I'm walking around the office like a tiger. I don't know what to do with myself. So I figure I might as well go to shul. When I'm not smoking, I might as well go to shul. I go to shul and I liked it. I saw the people there, and he started coming to shul every single Shabbos. How did he go? He did something which was uncomfortable, which wasn't ready for Bibihilu. So when it says Mashiach will come, there'll be a transformation. There won't be any evil left inside. Someone will take away all the negative things inside of us. And that's when Mashiach comes. It says Mashiach will come, we'll cry. Why will we cry? We're going to cry because, right, we'll cry when, where were we? It comes in a second and say, what was I thinking? Didn't I realize the truth? So that's but because there won't be any part of us that's pulling back. Mashiach comes, we're going to be fully there with our whole heart and soul. And we're going to regret why was I the way I was in exile. Anyways, that's what I wanted to share tonight. Any questions, comments? Go ahead, you had something to share.
I want just to say, in this parasha bo, why it says bo, it's supposed to say lech.
Oh.
So the bo, it's coming from what the Rebbe said,
Zohar.
that because Pharaoh was a little bit higher level, spiritual than Moshe was scared about it, so Hashem is telling him,
come with me.
Come with me.
Very good. By the way, it's not only of a high level, also on a low level. Meaning, Hashem comes with us in our challenges. You don't have to. Doesn't have to be. Bo means come with me. Hashem told Moshe, don't be afraid. Come with me. I'll take you with me tomorrow. Very good. Shkach.